Good morning, everyone. So good to see you. So before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the First Nations and in many cases, Native American peoples. So I'm here in Vancouver on the land of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. But I know many of you are on the land of other nations. So if you'd like, please feel free to write those nation names in the chat now. And always, let's remember our connection to our siblings in these nations and pray for the day in which we might be with them in right relationship. So welcome. It's so good to see you all. I love that we have friends from all over. So I know we have lots of us here in different parts of Canada and also in the States and someone in Singapore. Do we have anyone anywhere else kind of further afield this morning? All right, well, it's great. I love having more folks with us. So this is great. Thank you so much for joining us. So before we get started, so I just want to say welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own homes. Please bring who you are in with you. But what you are asked to remember is that everyone around you here has brought who they are in with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. So when you're ready, let's sing.
Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, whoever you are, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again,
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. For some of you who are new, who maybe haven't met Bruce and Cheryl before, they're amazing. So you'll see every week they sing songs in whatever languages or kind of the specialty that week, depending on the culture and the tradition. And their repertoire is unbelievable. So periodically I pressure them to make a CD. So yes, we're so happy to have them with us. So thanks so much, Bruce and Cheryl. So I have a few announcements. The first announcement is this Thursday, May 11th. There's going to be a free event at the Canadian Memorial Center for Peace here in Vancouver. It's called A Shared Society in Jerusalem. And it's actually going to be an Israeli and Palestinian speaker who are coming. They got a grant to come to travel around Canada and to share about their work. It's two women, one Israeli, one Palestinian, who work together doing microloans and supporting people in East and West Jerusalem, respectively, and trying to build projects together. So that should be lovely. That's going to be this Thursday. It's a free event. And if you're interested, you can sign up here. I'm going to put I'll put the sign up page in the chat. So anyone, unfortunately, it's not going to be recorded. But if you'd like to come in person, that would be great. And then let's see, we have some other events coming up. So Monday, May 15th at 8 a.m. Pacific time, there's going to be a fireside chat on women, positive peace, and religion. And so that should be very interesting. That's being hosted by the United Religions Initiative of Europe to commemorate International Day of Living Together in Peace. And if you're interested, you can sign up for that. I'll just put, this is the, let's see, there's the registration page for that. Just put that in the chat. And then there's a new book coming out by Angela Sterrett called Unbroken, My Fight for Survival, Hope, and Justice for Indigenous Women and Girls. And she's going to be discussing this. This is her debut book. which combines her experience growing up on the streets as a Gitsan teenager with the loss of missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. And there's also, she's going to be doing a talk to debut this book. And if you're interested, you can see that talk. It'll be here, and let's see, what day is that talk going to be? That's going to be Wednesday, May 24th at 7 p.m. at the Vancouver Central Library. So you can get more information there. And then in June, we have 2 events coming up, courtesy of the Surrey Interfaith Council. They're going to be, let's see, a series of sacred text sharing circles. The first will be focused on reconciliation preparation for National Indigenous Peoples Day on June 21st. And you can bring texts from different traditions to share for that. So that'll be June 15th, closer to the date. And also June 17th or 21st or 24th, they're still figuring out the time. The Global Clergy Association and the Surrey Interfaith Council will host a pre-World Parliament Religions gathering. And the theme will be compassion and the well-being of all, navigating through faith. So that'll be later in June. So we'll have some more time to get more details about that. So lots of good events coming up. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to share now?
Are all of those on the website?
They are all in the newsletter. Did you get the newsletter? If not, I can send it to you, Rebecca. Okay, perfect. I'll send that to you. That's no problem. So then you can sign up, because I think all of them, or almost all of them, you'd be able to see from where you are in Seattle. So. Perfect. Well, yes, Dorley.
I just wanted to, one more event, the Carl Jung Society of Vancouver, which periodically puts on events now these days almost always over Zoom. They're having an event on the 27th of May. It's a Saturday called Invisible Women, Stories of World War II Espionage, layered against like Western cultural shadow and projections. It sounds quite intriguing. So that's on the 27th of May. If you're interested here, I'll plunk it into the chat as well. So that's all. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Oh my goodness. That's great. Well, thank you. Okay, so let's come into silence for a moment. We can pray. So I have a prayer from the compilations of Bahia Kanum. The festival of Rizan is come, and the splendor of the light of God is shining from the invisible horizon of his mercy. The overflowing grace of the Lord of Oneness is pouring down copiously from the unseen world, and the glad tidings of the kingdom are coming in from all countries. The resplendent morn that betokens the advancement of the cause of God and heralds the exaltation of his word is dawning in every region. Praise be to God that the fame of the ancient beauty, may my life be offered up, has been noised abroad in the world, and the glory of his cause is spread far and wide throughout the east and west. These joyous developments will indeed gladden the hearts of his loved ones. Thank you. And then I believe Rachel has a prayer for us for lighting of the candle.
What's funny is I chose the exact same prayer. Who would have expected? But I just looked up another one, so I'll read that. Nay, were man to gaze in the eye of divine and spiritual discernment, he will readily recognize that nothing whatsoever can exist without the revelation of the splendor of God, the ideal King. Consider how all created things eloquently testify to the revelation of that inner light within them. Behold how within all things the portals of the Ridvan of God are opened, that seekers may attain the cities of understanding and wisdom, and enter the gardens of knowledge and power. Within every garden, they will behold the mystic bride of inner meaning, enshrined within the chambers of utterance in the utmost grace and fullest adornment. And that's from Bahá'u'lláh. And here's the candle.
Beautiful, thank you. Now let's offer one another a sign of peace. Peace, everyone. It's so good to be with you this morning.
Peace all, love.
Peace be with you.
Peace all.
Alawapa, my friends.
Peace, everyone.
Peace be with you.
Comfort in your hearts.
Peace, everyone.
Peace
Peace
to all.
to you
Peace.
all.
Peace to all of
to
you.
everyone.
Peace to everyone and love to all. Thank you.
Peace in your hearts and comfort.
Peace to all.
Beautiful. Thank you. And when you're ready, let's sing.
In a garden near Baghdad, there came a holy sight. The blessed beauty stood revealed, and darkness turned into light. Holy Isle of Paradise, O garden of Ridvan, Bahá'u'lláh has come to thee, proclaiming all people are one. Dear followers of every faith, search your holy books today, for the world Redeemer we all seek has come to show us the way. Holy Isle of Paradise, O garden of Ridvan, Bahá'u'lláh has come to thee, proclaiming all people are one. The messenger of God today is called Bahá'u'lláh. He came to bring the unity of all people in God's love. Holy Isle of Paradise, O garden of Ridvan, Bahá'u'lláh has come to thee, proclaiming all people are one. Bahá'u'lláh has come to thee, proclaiming all people are one.
How beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. That's wonderful. And now if you'll join me in our joint affirmation. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek, and let it begin here. Thank you. And now is when we take some time to pray. We come from many different faith traditions and backgrounds, and we have different ways of praying. Maybe even the way that we pray, we don't call praying, and that's totally fine too. If you don't know much about us, we're not really sticklers about language here, so it's all good. As always, there are so many different causes and people and needs in the world that require our attention. But I know yesterday here in Canada was Red Dress Day, which is in honor of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, those who've been taken from their families, those who've been stolen. Sometimes it's called the stolen women or stolen girls. And it's just unbelievable. I was trying to find some of the most recent stats. So the closest I can find from last year is there have been over 1,700 missing or murdered Indigenous women in Canada since they started keeping records, I believe in the 1990s. Indigenous women are killed at 6 times the rate of non-Indigenous women, and they're more than 4 times more likely to be sexually assaulted. I guess Alberta has the highest number of cases in Canada, but those of us here in British Columbia know just how huge this problem is here. With the farm, this one, the farmer, Pickett Farm, who had taken so many girls. He was a serial killer of Indigenous women, and took dozens of them from the downtown east side for years. And then up on the Highway of Tears up north, where it's not even safe for Indigenous women to try to travel because so many get kidnapped from there. So if we could take some time right now just to honor our families and those who have been taken and those who are still looking for loved ones, and send some love and prayers their way. And I know yesterday outside the Vancouver City Hall, a group gathered to do the calls for justice. So hopefully that will be helpful. But let's also pray now that we can help in some way. Thank you. And then when you're ready, let's sing.
Shakor mas mohabbat tun.
The glory of God, the glory of God, the glory of God. Bahá'u'lláh, the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Peace. Bahá'u'lláh, the promised one of all the ages, the promised one of all the ages. Bahá'u'lláh,
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. So I am going to put our donation page in the chat. I know many of you donate and have donated so much to keep us going. Earlier this year, we had a fundraiser because we were concerned about trying to meet our our needs. We have a pretty small budget, but still just trying to make sure we can pay our wonderful musicians, our amazing managing director, and cover some costs for just like, our website and our PO box and our phone and some very basic costs. So I know that fundraiser was really wonderful, very successful. So I'm so grateful to all of you who donated to that. And then many of you also who donate monthly through PayPal or through e-transfer just to help us meet our costs. And we're just so grateful for all that you bring in. And I know we're going to have next month, we're going to have our annual council meeting or like annual general meeting, and that'll be open to everybody so we can kind of brainstorm together. I'm someone who has a really hard time asking for help. I think all of you know that about me probably already. And so I tend to be like, okay, if our costs are $5, let's ask for $5 and then we're good. And then we don't have to bother anybody. But then we've been kind of talking about like, well, what are some things we'd like to do where we don't just have to keep things necessarily at the bare minimum? Like maybe people have new ideas for things that we can do together, so then when we ask for money, it's not just a bother, but it's exciting ideas and we can bring our ideas in. So think about those over the next month if you have any ideas for what you'd like to do. Or something we've been talking about is like, is this the best time for people to meet? I know we have some Jewish friends who are with us, some others who'd love to join, but they can't because we meet on Saturdays. Or they have other things where they say, I can't always attend the services, but I have other cool ideas for things we should work on. So let's think about those. And then please know that when we put out the information about the AGM for next month, we'd love to have you join and make sure that we're building this in a good way. And we're not kind of just like on the same track, of like, well, that's what we always did, so we're going to keep doing it that way, and that's how it goes. So just think about that because we really want that. This is something we really want everyone's input. So thank you. And now I think Bruce and Cheryl have another song for us.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Beautiful, thank you. And now it's my joy and honor to turn it over to John Sargent. So thank you so much, Dolores, for helping make it possible for John to join us. So he's a status Indian from the Six Nations Reserve in Oshweken, Ontario. Born of Mohawk and European descent, John discovered the Baha'i faith at a young age, and he's devoted much of his life to the Canadian Baha'i community. He's been involved in outreach work in Africa, remote Indigenous communities, and throughout North America. He's retired from a career in architecture and band administration, and he now lives in central British Columbia with his wife. He's also the author of this book, Stumbling in the Half-Light, and I'll put a link to that in the chat. It's a book of short autobiographical stories, and we're so grateful to have him here with us today. So when you're ready, over to you, John.
Thank you so much, Kathy, so much for inviting me to come to this meeting. I was unaware of it. Dolores was the one that told me about it, and so I'll be anxious to see some more. Now, am I sharing the screen now, Kathy? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we can see that. Thank you so much.
Good, good, good. Oh, I would like to thank the Living Faith Sanctuary for this opportunity to present some of the teachings of the Baha'i Faith to your group. But first, I would like to acknowledge that I am speaking from the unceded territory of the Siwasan, Shimiamu, and New Westminster tribes of the Coast Salish people. I'm a Mohawk so I hope they don't mind me talking in their territory. Unfortunately, I have not attended one of your group's programs before, so I watched the talk by Dr. Kala Singh, previously recorded. I was not at all familiar with the Sikh faith and thoroughly enjoyed his talk, especially his stress on the oneness of the Creator and the brotherhood of all humankind, because these are also central tenets of the Baha'i faith. I received the invitation yesterday and was surprised to see that my topic is Ridvan, the King of Festivals. This was a surprise because I was told the topic was the Baha'i electoral process. And so my talk is on the Baha'i electoral process. However, the two are closely interrelated, so I think it's going to be okay. We'll see.
So sorry for the confusion. We'll be totally fine. Thank you.
Thank you. The Baha'i community has just completed, on May 2nd, the 12-day Ridvan festival. Ridvan means paradise in the Farsi language, and it is the name Bahá'u'lláh has given to a garden on an island in the Tigris River through Baghdad. It was during his stay in that garden in 1863. Now, I noticed in the introductory material that we got, they said 1893, but that's correct. It was 1863. That he announced that he was the promised manifestation sent unto all humankind. Therefore, Baha'is around the world celebrate Ridvan as the king of festivals. And so it is on the first day of Ridvan that all Baha'i administrative bodies in the world are elected. One of the fundamental teachings of the Baha'i faith is that the major world religions are one, that they have appeared successively through time as human capacity has steadily increased. They each unfold a fuller understanding of God's purpose for us. God is in direct communication with us through a special creation which Baha'is call a manifestation of God. And the chart here on the right shows the basic principle. Abraham, Krishna, Moses, Zoroaster, Buddha, Christ, Muhammad, the Bab, and Baha'u'lláh. On average, these come at approximately 1,000-year intervals. Thoughts to consider about Baha'i administration. The purpose of the one true God in manifesting himself is to summon all mankind to truthfulness and sincerity, to piety and trustworthiness, to resignation and submissiveness to the will of God, to forbearance and kindliness, to uprightness and wisdom. His object is to array every human man with the mantle of a saintly character, and to adorn him with the ornament of holy and goodly deeds. Now, the women don't escape responsibility either. It's just that in Farsi they don't have a difference between male and female pronouns. And so it applies to all people. When Baha'u'lláh says man, he's referring to Homo sapiens as a species. These are just a few of the attributes we must acquire. All the holy writings contain many more with which we are all familiar, such as faithfulness, love, steadfastness, righteousness, etc. There's hundreds. But each great teacher can only deliver God's teachings to the limit of the capacity of mankind to receive it. Jesus, I have many things to say unto you, but you cannot bear them now. Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you on to all truth. For he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak. And he will show ye things to come. In Islam, consider that which hath been set down unto Muhammad, the apostle of God, the measure of the revelation of which he was a bearer, hath been clearly foreordained by him who is the Almighty, the All-Powerful. They that heard him, however, could apprehend his purpose only to the extent of their station and spiritual capacity. He, in like manner, uncovered the face of wisdom in proportion to their ability to sustain the burden of his message. Also, in past ages, mankind was largely illiterate, so some manner of clergy was essential so that mankind as a whole could hear and understand the revelations which God had sent down. Now, the revelation of Baha'u'lláh is meant for the next 1,000 years of human development. Humanity's educational methodologies will soon be worldwide, and human capacity will expand considerably during this time. Baha'u'llah's revelation, which is contained in over 100 books and tablets, is commensurate with this vast increase in capacity. Also, because of mankind's increased maturity, God expects us to individually study and apply the teachings ourselves. Therefore, the Baha'i faith has no need of clergy. We are expected in good conscience to derive the correct understanding of the text, and are forbidden from claiming for ourselves an authorized interpretation of them. Applying these teachings and acquiring the attributes enumerated becomes our life's work. There is, however, a need to organize the community's collective activities and provide guidance for questions that arise. Therefore, the Baha'i faith has an administrative structure to handle these aspects. One thing that distinguishes Baha'i administrative order is that it has no individual leader. The entire structure is composed of consultative bodies that work together to organize projects and events and to problem solve. This then presents the imperative need to develop the skill and perfect the art of consultation. There are numerous teachings on this subject. The great being saith, "The heaven of divine wisdom is illumined with the two luminaries of consultation and compassion. Take ye counsel together in all matters, inasmuch as consultation is the lamp of guidance which leadeth the way, and is the bestower of understanding." This administrative structure is composed of two cooperative and complementary pillars. The administrators, or sometimes referred to as the rulers, and the learned. Just a quick note of clarification. Baha'u'lláh set out the principles of his administrative order in the Kitab-i-Aqdas, which is his book of laws. His son, Abdu'l-Baha, clearly delineated its processes and procedures in his will and testament. He appointed his grandson, Shoghi Effendi the task of building and implementing its structure. So this chart here is kind of a complicated graph, which kind of shows the way Baha'i administrative order is established. On the left-hand side are the authoritative administrative bodies, and the graph on the right-hand side shows the institution of the learned. So starting at the bottom on the left, we have the local board of directors, which Baha'is call local spiritual assemblies. In the middle, we have the national board of directors, which Baha'is refer to as the national spiritual assemblies. And the international board is called the Universal House of Justice. These are all elected at each level. The Universal House of Justice, on the other hand, appoints the institution of the learned. And this is called the institution of the counselors. And there are boards of counselors. The International Board of Counselors is called the International Teaching Center. But on each continent, there is a Continental Board of Counselors. And they appoint two auxiliary boards, one for propagation and one for protection, that operate in the various countries throughout the world. And oftentimes these board members need assistance to carry out their functions, and so they appoint assistants to the auxiliary boards. So those are the main bodies of the leaders or the administrators on the left-hand side, and coming down the bodies of the learned on the right-hand side. There are other bodies and institutions and committees. In some countries which are large, like Canada, we have regional Baha'i councils that assist the National Spiritual Assembly. And we have regional teaching institutes. This is a very important factor. As the Baha'i faith, as I mentioned earlier, has a tremendous volume of information in its revelation, learning is a lifetime occupation of all Baha'is, from childhood right through to old folkies like me. Shoghi Effendi, who was guardian of the cause from 1921 to 1957, wrote on the 4th of December 1931, "In this holy cycle, the learned are, on the one hand, the hands of the cause of God, and on the others, the teachers and diffusers of his teachings, who do not rank as hands, but who have attained an eminent position in the teaching work. As to the rulers, they refer to the members of the local, national, and international House of Justice." Excuse me, I'm just going to take a drink of water here. The counselors and the members of the auxiliary boards fall within the definition of the learned given by the Beloved Garden. That's a clarification from the Universal House of Justice. The administrators, or sometimes referred to as the rulers, are responsible to organize the affairs of the community at the local, national, and international levels. They also problem solve when difficulties arise. The international body, known as the Universal House of Justice, is the only one invested with the authority to interpret the sacred writings of the faith. And anyone who has studied the multiplication of divisions within religions know that that is the major cause of contention and dispute. The learned. The existence of institutions of such exalted rank, comprising individuals who play such a vital role, who yet have no legislative, administrative, or judicial authority, and are entirely devoid of priestly functions or the right to make authoritative interpretations, is a feature of Baha'i administration unparalleled in the religions of the past. That's also from a letter from Shoghi Effendi. These boards have the twin function of promoting the faith of Bahá'u'lláh and protecting the faith from threats both within and without the community. To do this, they act as guides, advisors, and encouragers of the administrators. Almost like ombudsmen in the faith. They're the oil that makes the machinery run smoothly, if I want to put it that way. In my experience over the past half century, this system works with remarkable harmony and effect. Now let us look at how the administrators are chosen. In my personal experience, I find that the Baha'i electoral process is in many ways like a survey, the object of which is to identify those individuals in the community who best combine the qualities needed to guide and serve the community. In all members of the community, 18 years and older, are asked to vote for the 9 individuals they think best combine a set of attributes identified by Shoghi Effendi. That's so all the Baha'is in the community have to put on their thinking caps. They have to know the qualities outlined by Shoghi Effendi, and then they think about every member of their community and who best combine those qualities and abilities. There are no nominations. Everyone 20 years and older should be considered. All these votes are collected and counted. What this gives you is a list of all those in the community who the majority of the community think best combine those qualities. This invariably gives a very good indication. The top 9 individuals from this list are chosen as the local board of directors for the coming year. We refer to this board as the local spiritual assembly. A similar process happens at the national level. However, the electors are delegates chosen at the local level to attend an annual national convention. In other words, all the Baha'is at the local level select delegates to go to a national convention. Again, there are no nominations. The delegates are free to select those individuals who best combine the delineated attributes from among all registered Baha'is in the nation. This seems like an almost impossible task, but it's not, I assure you. Again, they have to be 21 years or older. One might think this is an impossible task, but it works like a charm. Again, the top 9 individuals from this list are chosen as the National Board of Directors for the coming year. We refer to this board as the National Spiritual Assembly. Every 5 years, this process is repeated at the international level. In this case, the members of the national spiritual assemblies from around the world are the delegates at the International Convention. This board is referred to as the Universal House of Justice, and it is the senior institution of the Baha'i world. So, if you're a Baha'i elector, there's 3 easy steps to electing your local spiritual assembly or delegate. When a Baha'i sets out to elect a delegate or a local spiritual assembly, they must follow 3 basic steps to fulfill this sacred responsibility. 1, become close to and informed of their fellow community members. 2, become informed of the duties required of the office we are voting for, and look for candidates who best fit the requirements. And 3, this is very important, turn to God and entreat divine inspiration in our choice. So what are the qualities the voter has to look for in the candidates they are voting for? Shoghi Effendi said we must consider, quote, the names of only those who can best combine the necessary qualities of unquestioned loyalty, of selfless devotion, of a well-trained mind, of recognized ability and mature experience. In addition, the Universal House of Justice asks us to further consider selection should be made with due consideration given to such factors as age distribution, diversity, and gender. The elector should make his choice after careful thought over an extended period before the actual election. Electioneering of any kind is forbidden. This is so ingrained in Baha'i culture that even the slightest hint of this is repugnant to every believer. And I can assure you, if anybody comes up to me and said, please vote for me, he'd be the last person on earth I would vote for in an election. Because obviously he doesn't understand the responsibility of being chosen to serve in this capacity. Finally, the voter turns to God in prayer and asks his inspiration in their choice. Shoghi Effendi states, on the election day, the friends must wholeheartedly participate in the elections, in unity and amity, turning their hearts to God, detached from all things but Him, seeking His guidance and supplicating His aid and bounty. And finally, Shoghi Effendi states, let us recall his explicit and often repeated assurances that every assembly elected in that rarefied atmosphere of selflessness and detachment is in truth appointed by God. Thus, Baha'is believe that their administrative order, from bottom to top, is divinely aided and inspired. Friends, this is the Universal House of Justice building on Mount Carmel in Haifa, Israel. Now, this body is only 60 years old. It was first elected in 1963, when the rest of the administrative order was built up sufficiently to allow for that. And if you don't mind, I've taken quite a bit of your time, but if you don't mind, I just want to show a short video showing the progress of that in those 60 years.
Years ago, 288 members of 51 national and regional spiritual assemblies gathered in the main hall of the Master's House in Haifa for the election of the Universal House of Justice. Today, it is our joy to warmly welcome you to the 13th International Convention. Joy and unity we experience in this historic gathering brings to mind the words of the beloved Master. What a blessing that will be when all shall come together. Even as once separate torrents, rivers and streams, running brooks and single drops, when collected together in one place, will form a mighty sea.
Thank you, friends, and I'm able to answer any questions if you have them. I'm sorry, that was a very large area that we covered in a very short time, so you'll probably be quite bewildered by all that data, but anyway.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
No, that was wonderful. If you're okay with it, I think Bruce and Cheryl have one more song for us, and I'll do a closing prayer. And then anyone who has to go is welcome to, but if anyone wants to stay after, if you have a little bit of time, John, and anyone has any questions, is that okay? If we stay just a little bit past and answer questions?
Yes, fine.
Perfect. Thank you. That was wonderful. When you're ready, Bruce and Cheryl.
We are drops of one ocean. We are pearls of one sea. Come and join us in our quest for unity. It's a way of life for you and me. We are flowers of one garden. We are leaves of one tree. Come and join us in our quest for unity. It's a way of life for you and me. All the world is one country. We are one. Can't you see? Come and join us in our quest for unity. It's a way of life for you and me. In our quest for unity, it's a way of life for you and me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. And many thanks to John for this really informative, helpful presentation. So I learned so much. I had no idea. I never considered how this works with a group without formal clergy, but I feel like I learned a lot. I hope you did as well. And let us learn from this, whatever our traditions are, whatever our background is, that it is possible that if we pray and we focus ourselves and we let go of our own egos, that we can figure out who among us can best serve humanity. And let us just take inspiration from this, that the Baha'i faith has done such a wonderful job of supporting these big, figuring out these bodies among who they have in the community. And let us learn from that so that we can do that as well in our own communities, so that the people who most have everyone's best interests in mind might be in a position of having some influence. And let us all hopefully go forward and grow in this way, closer to God and closer to each other. So many thanks. Thank you and happy Ridvan.